I remember going over convincing our team, or others too, convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
A little message to Republicans in office. Capitol Hill hearings and strongly worded letters aren't going to be enough after all of the evidence we've seen and continue to see. Stop talking about it, grow some balls, and do something. Remember, the Democrats impeached Donald Trump over a phone call to Ukraine to root out the exact corruption detailed in emails found on the laptop, an impeachment they claimed was justified because it was interfering in the election to dig up evidence of corruption. They impeached him for pursuing the truth and called it criminal, all while they were the ones engaged in the crime and cover-up. So your move, GOP, what's it going to be?
Okay, so the walls are closing in. They'll get them this time. I say that sarcastically because that's what the leftist media and these Democrats have said about Trump for the last 7-8 years. Witch hunt after witch hunt, scandal after scandal, and they never got him. Now it's their turn to feel the heat. Now it's time to look at their Lord and Savior, Joe Biden, and his business dealings with his crackhead son. Joe Biden is one of the most corrupt politicians in American history. So we've all known about Hunter Biden, his corruption, all this scheming, money peddling he's been doing overseas, his involvement in Ukraine, his involvement with those firms in China. We knew about it back in 2020 when the New York Post posted about Hunter Biden's corruption and Joe Biden, but Twitter deleted the post and suspended the New York Post's account in order to hide evidence and help Joe Biden get elected. We knew about it back in 2018 when a probe began after a SARS report, a suspicious activity report, revealed that the feds need to take a closer look at all this money coming from these foreign entities. But this entire time, Joe Biden has denied. Look, I don't know anything about this. Hunter Biden, I trust my son. He does what he does. This man was high on crack, coked out the whole time. But Biden said, yeah, he trusts him. In fact, he said Hunter's one of the smartest people he knows. So Biden denied. Let's take a look at this.
Have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
What's your understanding of what your son was doing for an extraordinary amount of money?
I don't know what he was doing. I know he was on the board. I found out he was on the board after he was on the board, and that was it. And there's nobody.
Well, you've had a lot of time. Isn't this something you want to get to the bottom of?
No, because I trust my son. I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. We learned that this president paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with China, does business in China, and in fact is talking about me taking money. I have not taken a single penny from any country whatsoever, ever. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about? China. I have not had it. The only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
So he can keep denying, but evidence is stacking up against him. We have all types of evidence, so much evidence that this man should have been impeached. First piece, the first clip I showed in this video, him over there confessing what he did, how he ran money over there in Ukraine, how he used $1 billion in taxpayer dollars to blackmail the Ukrainian government into firing a prosecutor who was investigating Burisma, the gas company that Hunter Biden worked for. And he thought it was funny. He was so open with it. He was so brazen because he thinks he's untouchable. We get the suspicious activity reports that I mentioned earlier. We got bank records, WhatsApp messages. And of course, we got Hunter Biden's emails. And then we have this photo here of Hunter Biden with his buddies, his overseas associates, those Russian oligarchs, along with Ukrainian oligarchs. Joe Biden's with them, all hugged up, buddy. Then we have Hunter's best friend, Devon Archer. He just testified before a congressional committee. He was in there for 5 hours. Unfortunately, this testimony was closed door and a transcript hasn't been released yet. Even though they should just do all this stuff out in the open, it just seems more corrupt when you do stuff behind closed doors. But Devon, who was also on the board of Burisma, along with Hunter, he said that Joe Biden would be put on speakerphone by Hunter Biden. It happened up to 20 times. I think he said 19 times. Hunter Biden was at a meeting with his business associates, peddling influence from the vice president, and he will call Pop, as he calls him. He will call Pop, the big guy, and put him on speakerphone. But now Democrats are denying that it was anything bad. They're saying, look, Hunter's out to dinner with his friends and he just calls his dad. So his dad's not going to just speak to Hunter and just hang up. He's going to say hi to everybody. So, they weren't talking about anything. In fact, check out this clip here.
So to confirm, you're saying that the speakerphone conversations, they don't seem concerning to you because there was no specifics about business, and it just seemed like
it was clear that it was part of the daily conversations that Hunter Biden had with his father, and it was and sounded like most of the time now President Biden didn't even know who the people he was at dinner. He was just asked to say hello. And he would, talk about the way he described it several times. They asked over and over and over. He described what the weather was, how what's going on your end. The witness was very, very consistent that none of those conversations ever had to do with any business dealings or transactions. They were purely what he called casual conversations.
If that's not gaslighting, I don't know what is. They're running the typical game from the Democratic playbook: deny. Even when hard evidence is in your face, you still lie about it. You look the American people right in their faces and lie, deny the truth, and say that the evidence is false. It's like, who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? Hunter Biden's with these oligarchs, these corrupt oligarchs. Joe Biden calls, they put him on speakerphone time after time. They just say, hey, how's the weather in Kyiv? Where's your trip from Moscow like? Really? Is that what you're talking about? You're going to call a vice president of the United States with your corrupt oligarchs and they're going to talk to him about the weather? Stop lying. And now they're even bringing up Joe Biden's dead son, Beau Biden, in order to kind of shame people, push people back like, oh my God, this is terrible. We can't talk about the dead son. So let's look at this statement here from New York Times. Representative Jamie Raskin of Maryland, the top Democrat of the panel, said Mr. Archer had testified that Mr. Biden talked to his son frequently after the untimely death of his brother, Beau Biden, in 2015, and that President Biden was never asked to, nor did he take any official actions in relation to Hunter Biden's business interests. An outright lie, and a disgusting lie, because now they're invoking the name of a dead guy. This is pitiful. So Hunter Biden joins the board of Burisma, this gas company over there in Ukraine. 3 days later, Joe Biden is flying in Air Force Two, the vice president's plane. He's flying over there to Ukraine, pushing a need to improve Ukraine's gas industry. And what came of that? $50 million of American taxpayer money was sent to Ukraine to bolster its gas industry, directly benefiting Burisma, directly benefiting Hunter Biden, and of course directly benefiting Joe Biden. So they're taking taxpayer dollars, washing it, pure money laundering over there in Ukraine. This is why they love Ukraine so much, because it's corrupt as hell and they can take our money, wash it up, and spread it among themselves. This has been going on for years, and they're telling the Russians, look, man, y'all need to stop because we can't let this cash cow go away. And it wasn't just Ukraine. I talked about this before. He was peddling money in China, and Romania, and Mexico. And of course, Biden has friends in high places over there in Russia. So they talked all this crap and condemned Putin and all his oligarchs and all that. Where there's a small list of oligarchs that haven't been sanctioned, that haven't been condemned by the West. Here's one of the oligarchs here, Vladimir Yev something something in Russian. But he's a high-level oligarch over there in Russia, hasn't been sanctioned by the West, and guess who was at the meeting with? Joe Biden. I wonder why. But I guess they were talking about the weather. I guess they were just shooting the breeze, talking about everyday life, family and kids and stuff. Because that's what the Democrats said. That's what the Democrats want us to believe. And I have another question, a question that not many people are talking about. Wasn't Barack Obama the president when all this was going on? Because we keep talking about the vice president this, vice president that. The vice president doesn't have much constitutional power, especially to take executive action. That goes to the president. So that means Barack Obama was either directly involved or turned a blind eye and gave Biden the authority to run all his money. A White House stenographer who worked for Obama, he actually quit because he said that he was ashamed. He couldn't be proud of the place he was working at anymore. And now he's begging for the FBI and prosecutors to interview him because he wants to do a tell-all. He better watch out because we saw what happened to that cook up there in Martha's Vineyard, but it's a different story. So let's look at his statement. If I went in there, I would tell him to have Barack Obama called in as a witness because he's part of the conspiracy. He's an ex-president. He has to answer who was in charge of this, putting Joe into this role. Did Barack Obama know about it? McCormick question. There's evidence I've seen and put in my Substack on April 16th. So 2 days before Hunter joins, Joe Biden is with Hunter in the West Wing. They have a meeting, and then later that day, Joe Biden spends a day in a limousine in the back of Barack Obama's limousine in Western Pennsylvania, he continued. What the hell was Obama and Biden talking about? Great question, because I believe Barack Obama is heavily involved in this because we have a senile, decrepit, jackass, dumbass, Joe Biden, and then we have his crackhead son. Who's the mastermind behind this operation? Is Joe Biden senile and decrepit and a mastermind, or is Barack Obama involved in this? Is Barack Obama running this game, peddling influence, because we've seen his playground? I always talk about his gigantic mansion up there, living like a king in Martha's Vineyard because he allegedly went into the office of president broke, and now he got all this money, tens of millions of dollars. Where the hell did his money come from? Not from selling books, not from a Netflix special. Where is his money coming from? What the hell did Barack Obama know, and what was his role in this? Even now, he's staying hands off, and it seems like for some reason, the media talks about this whole issue. Nobody brings up Barack. The stenographer is the only one who's willing to talk about Barack. That probably is one of the reasons why the FBI won't talk to him, why the prosecution won't call him in as a witness, because he has a lot to say about Barack Obama. But I'm just asking questions. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. Now, here's the real question. What are Republicans going to do about this? Because the Republicans are weak as dog shit. They get buck broken by the Democrats all the time. They try to say, hey, we're better. We're better gentlemen. We don't do all this corrupt stuff. We don't involve ourselves in scandals. We don't use political power against our opponents. So we'll let Trump get impeached twice on bogus charges. We'll let years and years of lies be used against Trump. We'll let them spread hateful messages and destroy our society, but we're not going to use political power to fight back against them because we're supposed to be better. That makes them weak. So my confidence level in Republicans doing something about this is very low. We're getting all this information. What's Kevin McCarthy going to do about it? We have some Republicans who are willing to take hard action. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's one of them, saying, yeah, we need to go ahead and start impeachment proceedings. But what's the leadership going to do? Are they willing to fight back? Because with these deranged lunatics, with these Democrats, you got to fight fire with fire. You can't be nice to them. You can't say we're going to turn the other cheek. We're going to be the better people. We're going to be better and bring Americans together and all those BS talking points that don't work. The only thing that makes y'all do is lose elections. So Republicans, like the lady said in the earlier clip, get your act together. Take hard actions. Immediately, you have enough evidence right now about this man being a stone cold money peddling liar. Take action now. Impeach this guy. So let me know what you think. Leave your comments below. Share the video. Thanks for watching.
Do you remember the one night when we fell in love? What we had felt so right, 'cause we had tried.